All right, we've got Jerry in Seattle. Thanks for waiting.
Oh, yeah, no problem. Can I make a couple comments about the previous callers before I go on?
I can't stop you without hanging up, so go ahead.
As an Atheist Community of Austin member, I really like it if we never discuss the morality question again on the show. It's just...
that's not going to happen.
That's just my vote anyway.
Yeah.
It was just, it's sort of like the free will question for me. It's like, what's the point of even discussing it?
I can answer both of those. The point of having those discussions is because there's disagreement and confusion, and we do succeed in alleviating some of that confusion for some people and alleviating some disagreement for some people. So it's one of those things where actually there's an article in that copy of American Atheist magazine from September, October, on page, I think, 20 or so, by Tyson Gill, who has the opinion that we should be done debating. And I just released a video rebuttal to that on my own channel, the Atheist Debates Patreon, pointing out how I think that is probably one of the most asinine things I've ever heard, that we, in a minority position, facing a majority of people who understand, because he basically argues, we should just not engage with them and only allow them to participate if they're willing to operate on the basis of reason. Well, congratulations. And as I pointed out in the video, that's like saying, okay, there's 20 of us in the room, two of us don't believe in your God, and we're not going to let the other 18 of you participate in the conversation until you agree to do it on these terms. It just doesn't work.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just that, I know, but see, I listen to at least 75% of all of these shows.
Yeah.
And every time this discussion comes on, it's like nails on a chalkboard, you know?
I completely get it, Jerry. I tell you this. Yeah. You are not the reason that I have those discussions, because you've already heard them. Somebody else is hearing this stuff for the first time in a different way. And whenever you get frustrated, just think about how many more times I've heard and had the conversation than you have.
Yeah. Anyway, that's enough of that for me. Anyway, one other thing I wanted to bring up was, you mentioned earlier that a lot of people hate you. I don't think anybody hates you or can hate you legitimately, because you're such a fine person.
Oh, you're wrong. I might be a fine person, but there are people who hate me. I guarantee it. I've spoken with them.
Okay, but I'm just telling you that I love you, man. I love you.
Thank you very much, Jerry. But you had a question about you're an atheist who prays?
No, I'm a former atheist.
You're a former atheist.
As I mentioned, I am a current paid in full Atheist Community member of Austin member. And in that vein, I want to challenge all other members, which I'm going to do as soon as I get off hold. I'm going to go make a $25 donation. I'm challenging all members, including the hosts, to also make a $25 minimum donation today.
Oh, well, I appreciate you coming on doing a fundraiser for us. I will say that while I'm not currently involved with the board of directors, it may be, you may have been a dues-paying member of the Atheist Community of Austin, but because membership requires that you be an atheist, if you're no longer an atheist, that might be a problem.
Well, I'm kind of on the fence, and I move from side to side. So,
well, let's hurry up and push you off that fence.
Well, no, I don't think it can, because I actually witnessed God, the voice of God, the visage of God.
Then how are you on the fence?
Because I'm not sure it was actually God.
Okay, that's good.
Okay, so
and
there was a great question by Jeff, because this is what happens, and I want to caution against this as much as I can. Yeah. There's a clarity that needs to take place in these conversations. It's one of the reasons why I'm incredibly... I think you might have noticed over the years, Jerry, I don't tend to give short answers. I talk a lot, and it's because I'm constantly terrified of being misunderstood, of not getting to clarity. But when you say, I've heard the voice of God, seen the visage of God, That is fundamentally different from I think I've heard the voice of God, or I think that I've...
No, I actually have.
And now we're back.
What?
And now we're back, because I'm trying to explain the difference between you saying, I saw something which was God, and then Jeff asks you...
So I think he's had an experience. He's not...
I've had a revelation.
But you don't know the source.
Yes, I do know the source.
Okay.
See, this is...
Then I'm still confused.
We are completely befuddled. Please tell us about your experience and how you know the source.
Okay. I'll explain it to the point where you'll understand. Anyway, I was in the back of a EMT ambulance, and I do admit that this whole thing maybe have been drug induced, but as far as I know...
Wait, you said you know the source, and now you're saying the source might be drugs.
I'm just saying that I'm a realist, and I have to admit that possibility.
So, okay, the point that Jeff and I were trying to get to is you are going back and forth. You're vacillating between claiming you know the source and then acknowledging that you might be wrong about the source.
I'm saying, well, maybe I should explain the source, and then you can debunk it or give your, I haven't really given you what occurred at all. So
okay. I think the thing we're getting at is you said it was God, then you said you weren't sure it was God, then you said you were sure it was God, then you said it might be drugs. Do you understand why we're having difficulty?
Well, yeah, I understand why you're having difficulty. See, the problem is I'm an extremely honest person, and I don't ever lie about anything. So I give you my unvarnished opinion, 100%, and not in any way trying to deceive. I'm just saying, when I was in the back of this ambulance, I may have been dosed by these EMTs. I don't know. But then I started to feel the presence. And this is another thing that I admit is against my case, but I felt the presence of Jesus. And Jesus is the God, and I know it's stupid. I know that it shouldn't have been Jesus. It should have been a woman, like that Ariana Grande song, it shouldn't have been the God I expected, because I was raised in America like everybody else. I'm exposed to churches, Jesus, blah, blah, blah. I never went to church as a kid regularly, only on Easter and stuff like that. And anyway, so I felt, I was an atheist at that point. At that point, I was an atheist. I felt the presence of God, of Jesus, coming toward me from above me, not above me as in the ceiling, but behind my head. I was strapped to a gurney. I felt the presence, and I talked to Jesus. I said, please do not come near me. I am unworthy. Do not come near me. Do not talk to me. Do not let me see you. I am unworthy. Please don't. Please stay away. And I covered my eyes and I covered my face so I couldn't see, because I felt so through my core that this was God. This was Jesus in his person, and coming toward me, I don't know what he was trying to do. But anyway, this happened several times where I felt like he was trying to get me to look at him, but I would not look at him because I was an atheist, and I kept saying that I was unworthy, I was dirty, and I did not deserve such a revelation. And anyway, so this happened several times, and every time he'd come near me, I'd throw my hands over my eyes so I couldn't see him. And anyway, I never saw him that night, but later on, like a few days later, I was driving, and I also believe I've actually seen the devil as well. And you're not going to believe this, but the devil was driving a Ford Harley Davidson edition truck, And anyway, he was kind of fighting for my soul, him and Jesus, because I was an atheist still. And I had decided that I was going to take the side of Jesus. I wasn't going to take the side. I wasn't going to be evil. I was going to choose evil. I wasn't going to fall for the devil, even though that, that's the way which is most pleasurable, for somebody, money, sex, whatever you want, power, it's yours. I could have chose that, I believe, if I had went with the devil. Anyway, he basically almost rear-ended me. Because I was driving, and he was basically having a road rage incident with me, trying to run me off the road. And at that point, we're not on, that's it. I made my choice. And anyway, and so after that incident, I was driving down the road after he left in his truck. I was driving down the road. There was a guy walking in the same direction I was driving. He was on the right sidewalk. He had long, blondish hair, blondish brunette hair. He turned. It was Jesus in the flesh. And I just kept driving. Anyway, I think I later saw him again, this time a lot closer, in the form of a homeless person with the same hair, the same, and the same, disheveled. But you see, the way I admit you're right, Matt. You're right. And I was right as an atheist. I was right as an Atheist Community of Austin member. I was right. There's absolutely no proof there is a God. There's no proof there is a Jesus. There's no proof there is any other God. There's no proof there are monsters. There's no proof there are fairies, unicorns, blah, blah, blah. So, but I can't ignore my own senses, my own physical senses. And how I saw both Jesus and the devil. And how I made the choice that if I was going to go with some entity like that, if they're fighting over my soul, which I don't even really admit. I don't think there is a soul, but if you're seeing God, then
I got to stop here.
There is a soul.
I got to stop here, Terry, because
go ahead.
I don't want to be a dick. I can't. I have no words, I think, because this is such a confused mess. I don't even know where we are in relation to being having the EMTs work on you. And, but okay. Wow. Jeff, you got anything?
I would, so I'm seeking clarification on a couple of points. It seemed like you said that while you were driving and you saw the devil, at that time you identified as an atheist, and also when you saw Jesus walking along the side of the road. Is that accurate? Am I understanding your story?
Okay, it wasn't the devil that you're thinking. It was just a guy.
Well, but but at the time you were
no fucking way. There's no way I'm going to sit here and listen to that entire story and have you emotional and telling me that this was the devil who was in a fight with Jesus over your non-existent soul. And then the second Jeff tries to get clarification, you're like, well, it wasn't the devil, it's just a guy in a truck. So why can't we conclude that the guy walking down the street was just a guy walking down the street and the homeless guy was just a homeless guy, and that what you experienced in the EMTs is nothing at all remotely? Because I tell you this, I'm an atheist and I'm a former fundamentalist Southern Baptist Christian. And if I was in a position where I thought that Jesus was trying to communicate with me, I'm never going to say, I'm not worthy. I'm dirty.
Oh, I did.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. The only type of people who would say I'm not worthy, I'm dirty, are people who predispose to believing this sort of thing anyway. But the elements of your story make no sense and change every time we try to get clarification.
Okay, ask whatever you want. It's not changed as far as I can tell.
Was the guy in the truck the devil or a guy?
It was. I just told Jeff that it was just a guy.
Then why did you say it was the devil? Why did you say it was the devil earlier?
You were fairly clear.
He was just like the homeless guy was Jesus. I thought that this other guy that was basically trying to kill me with his truck was the devil.
Okay, so you thought the devil was trying to kill you, but now you don't think it was the devil. So
no, he wasn't trying to kill me. He was trying to harass me with his truck.
Okay, you said kill, but harass, whatever. Here's the thing. How long ago did this happen?
6 months max.
Sure. Okay, so the correct way to tell this story is 6 months ago, there was a guy in a Ford truck who was being belligerent and I think was trying to harass me. And at the time, I thought maybe he was the devil, but he was just a guy. To tell the story...
I have no way to prove that he was
You're not listening. You're not listening.
Okay, go ahead.
You just told us when we asked that he wasn't the devil, he was just a guy. So the honest way to tell the story is, from the beginning...
Well...
No, you're the guy who says you're honest to a fault, so let me point out the fault. The honest way to tell that story is, there was a night where this guy in a truck was harassing me, and I was convinced he was the devil, but I now believe that it was just a guy. That is fundamentally different from saying, I saw the devil was in this truck, it was a Ford truck, Harley Davidson edition, and the devil and Jesus were fighting over my soul, and then as soon as somebody asks a question about the guy in the truck, you're like, well, he wasn't actually the devil, he was just a guy in a truck. Do you understand how that makes you not an honest person?
No, I don't, because I was telling you the truth, and the reason I believe that is because it was a revelation. It was what I felt.
Well, what is a revelation? A guy in a truck is a revelation?
No, a revelation is you feel something. It's not necessarily something you see with your eyes or hear with your ears.
What was the revelation? Was the revelation that you were wrong about whether or not the guy in the truck was the devil?
No, I actually still believe that he was the personification.
Okay, we're done. Somebody out there is going to hate that and think that I'm an asshole for hanging up on that guy. There's 4 callers left that I want to get through the show, and I don't want to disrespect them by having somebody tell me that he's blatantly honest. And then when we're pointing out and seeking clarification, he went back and forth on almost every point.
Yeah.
And I actually have a note here from this call screener because he was listed as an atheist who prays.
Right. And then switched to theist.
And then he switched it to theist. And then the call screener says, Jerry's story changed. He said he's an atheist who believes in God. So I think there's some confusion there. I don't want to speculate beyond that about potential issues, and I don't want to demean Jerry. But at the end of the day, if you're calling in to tell us a story about your personal experience, and you're going to tell me that you're honest, don't make me dig for the information, and don't make my co-host dig for the information, where you're then like, well, okay, I thought he was just a guy in a truck. He wasn't the devil. Well, he was the personification of the devil. Well, okay, they were fighting over a soul, and I don't even think souls exist. And this was, I don't even know that there's a good lesson.
And he may have been medicated the whole time.
Yeah. But why was he driving around dosed after? I don't know where the EMTs came into this story.
Yeah, ultimately it boils down to, if you had a personal experience and that's why you believe, okay.
And by the way, for everybody out there, and there's more than a few of you I know, because while I am not necessarily the stereotypical person, there were quite a few people out there who I'm sure were listening to that story and letting their mind wander about particular phrasing of things that were said that might have thought that this was all just a fake caller who was maybe trying to get in some double entendres or work down that road. You could be right. I have no idea. But at the end of the day, I'm willing to let somebody tell their story and engage, as long as we're not, like every time we raise a question, the universe doesn't flip upside down. I'm an atheist who prays, but I'm not an atheist who prays. I'm a theist. I'm an atheist who believes in God. And I had this experience, except I'm not sure it was an experience. But I am sure that it was an experience from God, but I might have been dosed by the EMTs. And then I was in this truck, and it was the devil, and there was Jesus on the side of the road, and then he turned into a homeless guy, but Jesus and the devil were fighting over my soul. But it actually wasn't the devil. It was just a guy in a truck who I think might have been the personification. Oh, my God.
And I'm on the fence about whether God exists.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm on the fence. No.